I guess we knew this would happen.
Hello and welcome to Last Week On. My name is Adam Straughan and we are here at the mid-season finale of Season 2 of Invincible. There's so many things I want to talk about this. Oh my god, it's such a massive, chunky episode. But before we get into that, I have two very special guests to introduce. So they are husbands and co-hosts of Coffee and Tequila, as well as AZB. Type that in on Facebook. Type that in on YouTube. You will see their faces.
I don't actually think we're on Facebook.
Is there a Facebook group? Let's find out. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome to the podcast Mr. Alastair and Zachary Patton-Garcia. How we doing, boys?
Yay! We just recorded our last Heartstopper reaction right before this, so
nice.
Kind of in the
groove. Oh, we did, yeah.
Wait, which episode? Like the finale, or
last two of season
the finale?
Two.
Yeah.
Okay. What did we think? Let's have a sneak peek. Did you enjoy it?
Well, it's no Invincible. It's sweet. It's good and sweet, and all that's all good and fine. But
I don't know. The finale was bloody exactly like Invincible. So if anybody wants to be shocked, watch that finale.
Out of Nick. Yes.
Just comes up on screen like boom, Heartstopper. Like it's bleeding.
Like this is very Invincible coded. Speaking of Invincible,
yeah, let's jump onto that. So. Before we jump in, Alastair, obviously, I haven't spoken to you yet about Season 2. You were on an episode of Season 1 for the podcast, but I need to know all your thoughts and feelings for Season 2 so far. Give me them all.
Well, first off, I watched the first season by accident, just early one Sunday morning, and I loved it. And then we waited like 10 years for the Season 2. And now we're here at the 10-year mark, and we've just all been waiting for the fallout of what happened at the end of that. And I think that we are really getting that. Well, one thing I don't like when we have like big season finales that have cliffhangers like that with shows is when they don't properly deal with the fallout. And I think that Invincible is doing an excellent job dealing with the fallout with each character and the way that it needs to be dealt with. I'm loving Debbie's character arc. I'm loving what's going on with Mark as well. Everything makes sense the way it should make sense. So far, I'm having a very satisfying time catching up with Invincible.
Yeah, I think you've put it perfectly there, is that we're sitting in the fallout, but also it's the emotional fallout. It's not just like the physical kind of destruction of like the city or anything like that. Like we're sitting with the emotions of the characters, right? Like with Mark and then with Debbie and like all of these people, that it's the fallout of what Nolan's done. And then in this episode, we look at the kind of fallout of Nolan and his kind of self-reflection of like what he's done as well, which is really interesting. But man, like this season for me has just gotten better and better and better with every single episode.
So short, this first half of this season. It feels like we just started. Alistair actually didn't even start watching until like a week ago. So we just went through it for you, and now we're already on mid-season break.
Yeah,
I was waiting for Zachary to watch it with me, and then I found out that he's been watching it. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely not.
No.
I've been really busy, but it was a nice little binge.
Yeah. But like now do we know when in 2024, or do we just know it's early 2024?
Just early 2024. That's all we know.
Well, Spyglass is definitely going to fire Melissa Barrera from this project as well. Probably fire
Spyglass
Omni-Man,
involved with Invincible?
No, they're not. We were just discussing the Scream stuff, so I'm making a little joke. But
Gonna tie them all together.
I guess we have to wait a while then.
I know. You know what? Like Robert Kirkman himself actually said on Twitter, he was like, after you watch season 4, you'll probably if you season 4, episode 4, you will probably need a break. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. There's a lot happening.
No, I don't need a break. I'm good.
Exactly.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Give me the next couple.
Next couple of seasons. I want it all.
Yes.
I think I'm good to go, especially whenever they have an epic fight like that. Like it happens. Like I just want to see the next thing.
Yeah, several epic fights in this episode as well. My God.
And when you give us such like an epic episode like this as a mid-season finale, like it just makes me wonder what's the finale then. You know, how wild are we gonna get here?
I know, because this was
at least give us a spinoff. At least give us an alien spinoff in between.
Based on the Thraxons?
Yeah, the Alan the alien.
Oh, Alan the alien. Yes, I'd be well up for that.
That'd be great.
I'd be well up for that. Sure, Seth Rogen would be up for that because what's he doing right now? But Anyway, so let's jump into season 2, episode 4. It's been a while. We start this episode with a flashback. Now, something really interesting happens with the sound design in this, which I'll get to it shortly. But we obviously cut to the kind of the end of season 1 when we see Omni-Man. He's like punching the hell out of Mark on the mountain. But what's interesting is that we're seeing this from Omni-Man's perspective now, rather than just us as the viewers. So like the sound, you can hear Mark's like crackling breath. You can hear like the blood dripping, and all of those things have been elevated because you couldn't hear them at the end of season 1 properly.
And he's like supposed to have like great senses. Like all of his senses are just super heightened, and so that really adds to Omni-Man as individually anyway. Yeah. And we see him like his moments after that, right? Because we already saw him fly into space and like kind of, but then we saw him fly away, and now we see more. And we've always all wanted more. We all wanted to see what happened to him. We've been waiting to see how he's going to pop up. Yep. I was like sure that he was going to come back to Earth, wanting to conquer this planet again and like kick the shit out of Mark again. And that's not really what we get.
No, so we get like, I love a good montage scene when it's done properly, and this for me is exactly what I love. So it's like, we don't get the question, obviously, when is Nolan, when are we going to see him again, when is he coming back? That's been hanging over the first 3 episodes, right? And obviously we've got that stinger at the end, but I love this. So obviously Nolan flies off, and we follow his journey through kind of space. Obviously, like you see, like grows a beard. I love the music playing over the background
Avalanche
as well.
It's not by Leonard Cohen, but Leonard Cohen made the song, but it's a cover of Avalanche. But it's like brilliant. I have a record of that.
Oh, you do?
I do, yes.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I had to look up the song.
Did you?
That was, I didn't know what it was. I was like, that's a good song.
It's genius. It's great.
Love that. You're there on Spotify. Like, what is this?
What is the app that you have that you like hold up?
Shazam. Shazam. They're like this. Like,
yes.
I don't think it's an app anymore.
They have some good music in this season. I don't really remember the music from last season, but this season for sure, there's some really great music moments, and this is one of them because we are listening to Avalanche as we're getting this montage of him. Presumably, how long would you say? Just like, because I was thinking a few months, but this has to have been like a month, maybe a couple of weeks.
I don't know. I feel like we get into a lot of math, especially with the Thraxans. Like, you know, I think of the baby. I'm like, okay, how long does it take for a baby to be that? You know, so
and then obviously the wife as well. Like how long she was an infant compared to fully adult when he met her, which is weird territory. But
I didn't even think about that.
When you think about it, you're like, Nolan, this is weird.
There, Nolan.
A little sketchy, bit of a grey area there, Nolan. But yeah, so. We obviously follow Nolan on this journey, listening to Avalanche. Beautifully done. All the shots are incredible. He's like flying past a planet going supernova and all of this. And like he sits down on just what looks like a moon planet and is just staring off. And then I love this when we obviously see that black hole that's obviously like forming, and then you see him there and he's literally about to kill himself.
And not even just that, like, because you could even take that out of it and say that maybe he wasn't about to kill himself. He probably was, but like let's just say for shits and giggles he wasn't. The relatability, I hate relating to this character, of being in such a funk and such a dark place that you're just like staring, and sometimes when you stare off into space it feels like staring into a black hole, and he's quite literally staring into a black hole and just staring, and that imagery was just so good.
Again, this show does the best thing of like show don't tell. This is one of the perfect shows that does so much of that so damn well. You and I said in the last 2 episodes, Zach, like the writing's so good, and that's not even in the dialogue, it's what we see, right? And this is exactly that way. Nolan, and I think he was going to go and throw himself in there because you see him kind of just leaning back and he's moving towards it, definitely. But what did you think of this whole montage, Alastair?
Well, I really enjoyed it. Like you said, I'm a sucker for a montage as well. And I think especially the art, like the different colors, the Cosmos singing in the background, singing such wonderful things in the background while he's just completely and totally depressed. Yeah. But then I'm also thinking, why is he depressed? Because this entire time I really want him to be sorry for, even though he killed hundreds of thousands of people. And he should definitely feel sorry for that. Even though he beat up Mark, the one thing I want him to feel sorry about is Debbie. Yes. That's what I want, like,
because we're huge Debbie fans.
Yes,
and Debbie we're all big Debbie fans.
But I don't think he is. I think that he's more sad about Mark not reaching his expectations.
Anything about her this season or this episode.
He doesn't
apologize. He doesn't say anything. makes me so angry. I hate even seeing a montage that uses him in this way because it makes me like, I don't feel bad for you, sir. I feel anger towards you. I feel like so angry towards him at every single step of this episode. They don't, and I don't think they're trying to. Like, I feel like the I can't really, do you call them filmmakers? Are these filmmakers?
The animators?
Animators,
yes, the people who made this, the showrunners, like they know that we're not looking for an Omni-Man redemption story, or at least most of us aren't, right? They know this, they're very aware of this, but they still give us those dramatic beats anyway, as if we're supposed to feel something, and I'm just make me angrier, sir. Like you're feeling all sad. Well, your son is down there on Earth, all broken and bruised, and you know.
Well, it's also like, and I like that it ends with him
that.
seeing the Thraxons, about to go into the black hole, and then he has to like make the decision of like whether he's gonna save them or not, and he saves them, and it almost feels like it was an afterthought. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna save these guys, like this is what I do, like autopilot. He's an autopilot, right? He's at work. He's an autopilot. He's already answering emails. That's him answering an email is saving those people, right? So I don't see any emotion behind it. I think he just saw it and did it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm conflicted about that because prior to that, we've never seen Omni-Man really save anyone. We've seen him do a lot of destruction. We've seen him kill a lot of people, but we've never seen him be a hero in the way of saving people. So I think for me, this was like the first kind of, we talk about that Kraken Omni-Man when he flies off and there's tears in his eyes. This for me is the first step of him taking a different direction with him having his powers and actually saying, I can use these for good. And I think that's the first time he saves...
Yeah. We know that he has done that because that's how he was on Earth for so long as a superhero. Like, he did save people. He saved lots of people. And throughout the course of his entire life, he's probably saved a lot of people. So, like, sure.
No, but
sure, he can save people. That's fine. But this is not an act of, like, I think I agree that this is not some sort of act of, like, let me make an about face and do the right thing for once. No, it's I'm here, why not? Sure.
No, but I think I get what you're saying, Adam, where he saves people through violence.
Yes.
Right? Against other aggressors versus saving people just for the sake of saving people.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. And I think this is the first time when we see him kind of do that. Now, again, like, as you said earlier, Zach, like, this could be spun as this is Omni-Man's redemption arc. We should feel something for him. Whether you do or not is optional. But I think the main thing that we're reminded of here is every time we see Debbie, we don't feel sorry for him because of what she's going through. And that's really important and key in this whole episode. And I think, obviously, when we cut to present, like, obviously, he flies down to that planet, he saves the people, he then kind of becomes one of them. And then we cut to present where Mark's standing in front of him. And, like, I love this. Like, Mark is fully justified when he says, fuck you, and flies off. Like, all of this when he clenches his fists and everything and just is so full of rage.
Well, okay, so let's just talk about this, right? Because,
let's go.
Okay, so we're picking up, we finally are, like, caught up into the present. We're finally caught up to exactly the moment we left off on episode 3, and Mark is there, and Mark clenches his fists. Why the fuck is Omni-Man clenching his fists as well? No, sir, Daddy, you should not be doing that. You should let yourself be unguarded. You should, and we know why. We know why he's unguarded and he's ready to. Because he's probably expecting his son to be really pissed and try to start some shit. And so he's ready, and he has a new family, and he's ready to sit there and protect his new family, right? So I understand the motivation there, but just to see the imagery of Omni-Man, the man who has done all the wrong throughout this entire situation, clenching his fists at the son that he did the wrong to, pissed me off to no end. And it pissed me off when Mark hugs him, goes up to him and hugs him. But, like, again, I love how realistic this is, that this is just feels... This feels to Mark like if he were on Earth and this situation was happening in front of everybody, he wouldn't have done that because there's eyes on him, right? He doesn't know anybody here. He doesn't know, like, he can let his guard down and do the thing that he just wants to do, and he wants his dad back.
What's heartbreaking is the affair. I was so mad at her for no reason, even though she was less than 1 year old. I was like,
like, all of this, like, I'm kind of similar with, like, what both of you were saying. Like, I Omni-Man just deserves to sit in the shit that he's created, right? And like, I get that Mark has missed his father. He missed that part of his father, as Debbie misses that part of her husband as well. I get that. But Jesus Christ, like, he was ready for a fight. Like, remember, he nearly beat you to a pulp, Mark. And I know, like, Mark's last words were, still, Dad, I'll still have you. I completely understand that. But still, Mark is justified in all of his reaction here when he's like, how about saying sorry? Like, for starters, you've never saad that to me, to Mom.
And
then when he still doesn't. Never does. Yep, never does. And he says, like, I've thought about you every day. That's not an apology. That's not an apology to Debbie. That's not an apology to Mark. And then when he says, fuck you, and like, there's so much anger in that before he flies off, and I love it. But then, obviously, Omni-Man reminds him and says, you won't be able to get home. You won't be able to navigate home without me. Please just give me 5 minutes. And then that's when he tells him everything. I've got this wife and I've got this child now. And he's just like, you've got a Thraxan wife and a kid? What?
Not only does he have a Thraxan wife, and it's not just like it's like every little fucking thing he does in this episode pisses me off, because it's not just like he lets him know he has this new family. He walks up to this bug, this insect.
Okay, let's not insult
and
her
like
that.
Tongue kisses it.
Yeah,
he like
right in
tongue
front of
kisses
him.
her. And that's how Mark finds out. That's how Mark sees it for the first time. And then this bug creature picks up this baby, and Mark is like putting pieces together, and then Nolan says everything, right? And it's just so infuriating.
Well, it's
the gall of this man.
It's a total replacement of his Earth family, right? And several factors, like it's like, one, he can go to this world and he can completely replace his family, completely start out new, and do all that stuff, and then trick obviously Mark into coming over, because that's probably the one thing that he misses from Earth is Mark, right?
Yeah.
Or like his biggest regret. But it's just like, it's so insensitive. You can definitely see that it's his like father's selfishness that really rules how he reacts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just hate it. Like, I'm completely honest. Like, I know he's got the purple baby, and like Mark, he's like, Mark, this is your little brother, and like Mark says, like, you got to be invincible, and then comes back, fucking kidding me, which I absolutely love.
Yes, it's great. It's a great like, at this point, they're gonna drop it whenever, and it's a family friendly show, so they weren't gonna like say fuck you. But then they did say. But then they do. Yeah. He says it anyway, and it's fantastic. I love hearing Mark say that. Also, fuck this baby. I don't give a fuck if this baby is innocent. I don't care if this baby is like, fuck this baby. Mark, and he's like, you need to help me because they're coming and we have to protect. This is your little brother. He's innocent. And I'm sitting there saying, fuck this baby. I'm going back to Earth. Get the ship ready. Y'all can deal. This baby can deal with the fucking
the Viltrumites,
all of them, the Viltrumite.
It makes me think, like, when you have family and the family has babies and then they want you to take care of the babies. I'm like, why would I take care of the babies? I didn't make the babies. You made the babies.
Responsibility.
Not my responsibility. No.
Considering your actions, Nolan. Consider your actions, Omni-Man. That anything you already know, you have the information that you left your post on Earth, which is probably a bad idea. You know that you didn't conquer Earth, that was a bad idea. You then go to another planet and you disappear off of the Viltrumite radar. You go to another planet and you then get into a relationship with a fucking bug and have another baby. Sir, you have sentenced all these people to death, not me. I have no responsibility here. You have done that because for your selfish needs, your selfish reasons. You have come to this planet and you have, like, that wasn't the right thing to do. And still, because Nolan only fucking thinks of himself, decided he just wanted companionship. He just wanted another son. And that's what he did because he just wanted to, right? He didn't give a fuck if that was going to be bad for everybody else on this planet.
And the thing is as well, he didn't give Mark a choice. Like, he knew by getting Mark to that planet, Mark wouldn't be able to just leave and go home himself, right? And say, no, thank you. He knew in that selfish pursuit, I'm going to get my son here. He can't leave because he won't be able to get back home, and then he'll help me. And it's like, piss off, Nolan. Like, we've seen your selfish side all the way through season 1, and this is an extension of
an
that
extension. You're not so like that's why that's what I really love about what the showrunners have done here and the filmmakers have done here is that they open this episode with that brilliant montage and this montage that is almost showing a little bit of redemption, right? Is giving us a taste of like the classic redemption montage. Hold on, Alastair. They're giving us a taste of that classic redemption montage, but then immediately when we pick up a story, they're showing us actually he hasn't changed at all. This is the same Nolan, and everything you just saw is Nolan just having a little cry fit, but he hasn't changed. He hasn't done any reflecting.
It was really his pity party.
Yes,
it was his. It was his intergalactic pity party that he was having.
Wow, what an invite!
He didn't get his way.
Pity party. Yeah, exactly. Spitting his dummy out, as we say in the UK. But yeah, so like I was like, when Mark said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like I was exactly the same. I was like, "Really, this is happening?" And then all of this, what we said, is undercut by when we go to Debbie in the next scene. Now, my God, just as we had a beautiful montage with Omni-Man, we get exactly the same with Debbie here. Obviously, she's walked out of that group that she knows she won't get any support from anymore after that guy was an arsehole to her, basically. And then she's walking through the city. We see the different parts. We focus on Debbie, but the background changes. Again, this music is playing. Like, there's a moment when she stands over the freeway and just looks out over the traffic and is just staring, like, again, like Nolan stared.
There's a really stark contrast that I love. Between those two montages is Omni-Man flying through the sky and Debbie with not only her feet and shoes planted to the ground, she's barefoot planted to the ground. So we have the sky and the ground like both are contrasted there. And really, which one came out on the shittier end? Fucking Debbie. And I'm glad that they're reminding the audience, hey, just in case you felt any little bad for Omni-Man, here's this woman who's truly his pet. Here's his pet walking around the city barefoot.
That made me dislike you a little bit when you said it.
And the thing is as well, is like, again, like Nolan can fly to another planet as a superhero, I guess, and start another life, right? That's what he does. Debbie can't do that. Debbie's known probably by everybody on Earth right now that she is Nolan's ex-wife. And so she can't go and do that because that is what will hang around her neck for the rest of her life on Earth. And again, it's a horrible pursuit that she's got to go through, whereas Omni-Man can fly off and start a new life and have a new family and reset, right? She can't have that. And that's what makes this so depressing. But again, like she goes to the grave. Obviously, we know Omni-Man isn't there, and she's talking to it, saying, "You weren't real. Like I never knew you. Like why did you hurt me? Why did I marry you? Oh my God, all of these questions. It's just, man, I feel so much for Debbie in this show. I love her so much.
And this is not something you just get over, right? This is something that will last years for her. Like I could even this has affected her the rest of her life. And humans, we have a short lifespan, right, compared to a Viltrumite. The rest of her life is affected by this now. He has ruined the rest of her life, and she can come out of it. She can crawl out of it. She can build a new life for herself, right? But like this current state of life is completely ruined for her.
That's a good point, Zach. That her life is so short compared to a Viltrumite. So for him, like a wife of 1 year versus a wife of like 20 years,
it's a snap.
Does that make a difference?
For her, this
him?
Was her whole life.
You know?
Yeah.
And then her looking at the grave, it's like the grave is a lie. The whole name on it is a lie.
Yeah.
You know, he is a lie, and she's not able to grieve for him. Everybody who knows him in life, you know, just think that he's dead, and that's why she should be sad. That's why she's sad, but really it's because she was completely and totally betrayed. And I love seeing that, like the contrast that we were talking about. You're talking about him in the sky, you know, him being able to start out new, her there, her feet planted on the ground, still having to be there. But it's also like I said, he was in a pity party, and she wasn't in a pity party. She genuinely was just destroyed by everything that he should have. She was feeling the feelings that he could have never felt.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right, like, it's awful. Her whole world has been turned upside down. Her world has been destroyed, right? Like, and she's trying to still be a good mother and support Mark by sending him off to college and everything like that. But at the same time, she is alone right now. Where's Olga? Is she there? I don't know. But I love the shots. Like we talked about this in the last episode, when like you see Debbie walking down the street and she looks up at the stars. Then we go to Mark like in space. Like it does this so well. Says a lot without saying anything, and that's what I love about this show so much. We then cut briefly to Alistair's favorite, the Mauler twins. So they're making a new clone. Obviously, this is a very brief scene just to remind us in season 1, they clone each other. It's all about never finding out who the original clone is, right? Who the original is.
They are absolutely fantastic, though.
Oh, yeah.
Every time they show up.
Yeah, they play off each other. So I know you love them. That's why I said it. They play off each other really well, and they bring a lot of charisma to each scene that they're in. That's what I really like about them. And obviously, it's interesting where we go with that later. We then cut to Donald. So Donald obviously knocks at Debbie's door. She's not in because she's out walking the land in her bare feet, bless her. And then he turns around and sees the crater, and he's like, because obviously he started to question his own existence in the last episode.
Yeah.
So he goes over. Very much he's going in. He's like, what's going on here? Finds his OG glasses in the ground and pulls them out.
Trippy, too. This whole, Donald's whole storyline throughout this episode is so trippy. It's very, very Buffy-coded.
You know what it actually reminds me of?
Yeah.
Agent Coulson.
Yes, very much that from
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
I have not. Sorry.
Yeah.
Bringing up references I haven't seen. I'm married to this man, by the way. He's like, I don't know if you've seen it. I haven't seen it.
A little show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Maybe we should watch it. So then we cut to William and Amber. So they talk about skipping class, which I love this because they're literally talking my language. That was me when I was at college. And then they obviously meet up with Adam Eve as well. She's still clearly upset, right, after everything that's gone on. And I actually like Amber here. We've talked about this. Amber's grown on me a lot, where straight away she was like, yep, I'm accepting the situation. I know what I signed up for. And this is polar opposite compared to the Amber that we got in season 1. That was a bit more arsey about the whole thing. Whereas now she's just saying, yep, totally get it. Look, he has to do his thing.
And I love to see it because no more people giving Mark shit for any decisions he's making. Decisions at all. If he decides not to help this stupid ass baby, nobody should be giving him any shit for it.
Well, and I think the difference between this one and the last season is he was honest about it, right? So he's honest. Hey, I got to go save some lives. She's like, you don't even have to make an excuse.
Yeah,
just go. Last time he'd be like, we're on a date, and then he'd try to sneak away to save lives and then sneak back in, and that would have annoyed anybody.
I mean, Amber's much more tolerable in this season.
Yeah,
much more tolerable.
I think the thing that annoyed me about her is that in the first season, she kind of hung on to the fact that she was like, oh yeah, I knew all along that you were a superhero. It's like, well, why were you giving him a hard time then? If you clearly knew. Whereas now she's more accepting, just like,
some
look,
people just want to be whatever. An asshole. Asshole.
I think it's because she values honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just like, okay, honesty. Let's never explore that.
Fantastic.
No, I have to say, but I actually do like her, and I really like Zazie Beetz as well, who voices her. I think she's really cool. Obviously, see her in Deadpool as well. She's a really awesome actress. But anyway, they try to invite Eve for coffee, and then she says, "Oh, look, where are you staying?" She's like, "Oh, I've got a place in the city that I can stay," which obviously we revisit later on. We then come back to Omni-Man and Mark. So this is it. Obviously, Mark's screaming at him, saying, what, you've replaced me? You've replaced, my mom, Debbie? What's going on? And then, Omni-Man's trying to justify it all by saying, I found my purpose with these Thraxans. They see me as this protector, blah, blah, blah. But then he also explains that Viltrumites can only procreate with beings of similar nature, like humans. Yeah, you've got a purple baby there.
This is a good plot drop, yeah.
And obviously he says, the Viltrumites, they're going to come for us, and they will kill me, they will kill the child, they'll kill all of us. I want your help to protect us.
Fuck that baby. Let them kill the baby.
I just have to say as well, in the comics, that baby is a character.
Oh gosh, you know what I theorized though is I feel like the baby is, because they've already given us the plot point that Thraxans grow really fast, right? And so I assume this baby is going to grow really fast into a Mark aged sort of adversary to Mark.
I ain't saying a damn thing.
Fuck that baby. Let that baby die. Let the baby die. Let his insect mother hoe die as well.
Okay, Zachary. She was actually very nice.
She's a hoe.
She's very nice.
She's a hoe.
And Dresser is nice. She is actually nice. But the hoe is nice.
Fuck that baby and his mother.
No, you know what? The hoe is nice, but she could have not tongue fucked his dad.
Yeah, that's
exactly. That's the first time you're ever seeing Mark before you even say hello.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Or maybe that's their traditional greeting. What if that's how maybe we just don't understand their cultural norms.
Did she greet Mark like that? Did she do that to Mark?
Maybe it's I don't know. a hug versus
You're
a
trying
handshake.
to make excuses for a hoe. Don't try to make an insect into a housewife.
Yeah. About
the Real
her.
Housewives of Thrax.
Give me that show, please. Can you imagine?
They're all dead. That show is not coming.
That's the show. Yeah, and I've even got in my notes here, like, he's rightfully so annoyed with him, like dumping all of this on him too. And like, he's asking Mark for his help, and like Mark even says, like, I couldn't even defeat you. Like, what are we going to do? How am I going to be any good? And then Nolan says straight away, I'll train you. I'll get you ready for the Viltrumites. It's like, again, we're going back to this where he wants to train a soldier, basically, rather than raise a son. And then too late, they're here, right? So then we see them crash down.
He doesn't care about Mark coming as his son. He doesn't care. He does not care about reconnecting with Mark as father to son. He cares about like training the only known Viltrumite that he knows that he may be able to sway in his favor. That's it. He doesn't give a fuck about Mark.
He's always wanted a soldier from Mark. Yeah, he always has. Like even season 1 when like think right back to the beginning of season 1 when like Mark says, oh, I got my powers, and Debbie says to Nolan, and straight away, rather than, oh, congratulations, son, that's amazing, he's like, right, tell me what you can do. How have you done it? Like he's looking for a status report. I want to know how good you are at being a soldier, basically. That's all he wants from Mark. And that's what he's wanted for so long, which is why this crack in Nolan at the end of season 1 meant so much when he was getting emotional, which obviously we build to that later on as well.
So how many children does he have? Does he have baby mamas across the galaxy?
Because it seems like
he's
an
a sailor.
absentee father. It seems like he's got a lot of child support payments going through the courts right now.
I don't know. Maybe he sticks with the kid until he sees if the kid has powers, and if it doesn't,
so why is he picking this
leaves?
insect kid, this bug kid? Why is he choosing this one?
Because he knows in like a year's time he'll be gone.
Fucking stupid. Anyway, the Viltrumites do show up, and that's pretty badass. Seeing them all like just crashing to Earth. I guess they just throw their bodies into the Earth, into the planet. They're just like
just plummet down, just head first.
It was very Red Rising. I was I was like really impressed, but at the same time, I was like almost a tiny bit not let down. I don't want to say let down because I'm thinking Superman type battles, right? And we do kind of get that Superman type battles. Superman, obviously, okay, never mind. I take that back.
We did
because we saw them, but we didn't really see them destroy the Thraxia or whatever. We just see the aftermath.
We saw the aftermath. That's enough. I think,
and we see them. We see them fight each other, which is brutal.
Yes.
I just want to highlight as well.
You're right.
These are the 3 Viltrumites that actually the ones that fought Alan the Alien and obviously killed him as well. Well, as far as we're aware. So it's the same 3 that are back. So those horrendous dickheads. So then, obviously,
do we know their names? Are we supposed? I guess we're not supposed to keep up with their names, but whoever,
they are
with the braid.
The whip,
she is badass. She's an icon. Yep. She's a gay icon.
We stand brilliant.
She's a gay icon.
Gay culture is standing that Viltrumite with the braid.
Yes, that should be a drag race look.
Can you imagine? I would live. Their names are mentioned later on. I don't know whether he wrote them down, but they are actually mentioned. I know Nolan says them in the midst of the fight. But obviously Nolan says to Mark, look, grab Andressa, which is his buggy wife, Buggy Ho, and grab your brother, take them to safety. So obviously he takes them away and Nolan goes off to fight. We then cut back to Atom Eve. So she's in the Guardians HQ. That's where she's hanging out in the city. We then see Kill Cannon, a returning character from season 1, breaks in to steal this, basically the Orb of Thessalar, puts it in his hand, and then they have this big fight, right? So
the Orb of Thessalar.
Literally, that's what it was. Tell me that it wasn't. Now, they start to fight. We obviously revisit that later on. Now then, this is when shit gets real. So then Mark flies Andressa and his purple brother to the caves of Roclaim. Okay. So then Mark asks his brother's name, and Andressa explains, the Thraxan lifespan, it's different from yours. 1 human year is how long we live. Nolan's genes have slowed the child's aging down, so he will live a little bit longer because he's got some Viltrumite in there. He's not fully Thraxan. And like, when she says, oh, look, I never meant to replace Debbie. Like,
I don't give a fuck. You found out eventually. You found out his history eventually, and you still chose to stay with that man. That
that's
says
Mrs.
everything
Grayson
I need
to you.
To know about you. That's everything I need to know about you, ma'am. You're a hoe. You're an insect.
It's whenever she refers to him by her name instead of by like who she was, like you don't know her. She should have been by, his wife or by his ex-wife or his former wife. But, I don't like that.
Yeah. And when she tries to make light of it, and she's like, oh, and I fell, like, what's the expression? Head over feet? I'm like, oh, you had your head over your feet when you met Nolan. That's what you were doing.
You're not even allowed to use our earthly expressions, you slut.
You had your head, you had your legs in your hoops. That's what you had. You were ready for him.
That's like finding out that your husband is Hitler and deciding to stay with him anyway. Like, he killed thousands of people just like 2 weeks ago or however many months ago, right? This is not a man that you decide to stay with. And now he's sentenced to your planet to death as well.
You're saying that, but look at any like vampire fiction ever.
It is very true. But we're not going into that, okay? It's okay.
Women love a man who's basically
a little dark, genocide. A little British. I mean, listen, Omni-Man is sexy. He's daddy.
Oh, he's fully daddy.
But I just can't. I can't get past everything. All of the ways he's just an asshole. Because we have so many like evil characters who get redemption arcs, and we love them for it, right? We go with it anyway. But you can't fix an asshole, and an asshole is just an asshole in a TV show, and Omni-Man is just an asshole. And
it'd be okay, like if you just murdered people, but like. Debbie.
Actually, you know what? In TV rules, it would have been okay if he just murdered people. But the way he treats people is where I draw the line.
It's like, Omni-Man, you can split me in half, Daddy, but, ask permission, please.
Spike killed tons of people, but you know what? He was still sweet on Buffy, so we're like, okay. That's
but most of the time.
Up until season 5.
Season 7, he had a moment with her. But season 6, sorry. Anyway, Jesus, this is not Buffy. Buffy the Viltrumite Slayer.
Continuing.
The Viltrumite Slayer. She would.
She's the only one that can save us. So then, Mark,
they're just little glories.
Oh, God. Yeah, literally. This is what Zach and I said in the last 2 episodes as well.
Oh, really?
But the only difference is, let's go off. The only difference is, with Glory, it was very much suggested, whereas this, we see it all happen, and that's what I love about this, right?
They don't even need to pick themselves up. They show us why these are some baddies that we should be afraid of.
Exactly that. Mark does get a bit understanding when he says to her, but it still hurts. Rightfully so. Keep twisting the knife, because let's be real, like, he's been fucked up by this man. And then the Viltrumite soldier appears, so he crashes through, and then, wow, this fight, like, he even says to Mark, like, oh, if you fight well, then you can join the Viltrumite army, right? Which is kind of what Nolan's been saying to him the whole time. So then, oh God, all of this, when he looks over at, like, Andressa and says, oh, he made another child with these disgusting creatures, and then, like, this fight I love because it just shows you like how strong they are when he's pushing Mark into the ground with one finger, and Mark can't do a single thing.
Great. That was
so
great.
Good.
Because we didn't even see, like, we saw a show of power from Nolan when he was kicking Mark's ass, right? But we didn't. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that kind of power.
Yeah, again, that's showing the stakes. Yeah, like, like, you cannot mess with the Viltrumites because they're going to kick your ass. And that's exactly what happens. It's not even a whole
episode that he gets, like, his suit's all ripped up, his glasses are all busted within, like, a couple minutes.
Yeah, like,
I know. I think you should really rethink the glasses.
Show your eyes. You're handsome.
Yeah, them beautiful eyes. They're a hindrance. They always get cracked, don't they, anyway, more than anything. But, obviously Nolan crashes in. He says, stay away from my children, Lucan. So that's his name. I wrote it down. Which, okay, like, now you're defending Mark. Like, you're the one that nearly killed him last time, but okay. Then Mark goes
because he needs Mark. Because he needs him for his own selfish gain.
Yeah. Although there is something that I'll hint about towards the end of the episode, which is pretty cool. Anyway, so then... Mark goes over and saves Andressa, saves the rock from, like, falling on them. And then this Nolan and Lucan fight I absolutely love. Like, it's the same kind of at the end of season 1 when Mark cut off the Immortal's head. Omni-Man did. And it's the same type of slice that he does on Lucan, but across his guts. And you just see them roll out. It's like, Jesus Christ.
I love that that's, like, a fight tactic that all of the Viltrumites use. Because with Alan, they, like, karate chopped his arms off and stuff, too.
Yeah.
So that just seems to be Dead.
And like as well, like the female one, she has that like dagger, right? That she uses, and again, just
I just love it. She's like, you've got they could have spent a little money on like Willow Smith's. I whip my hair back and forth, as she's like slicing bitches up. She's like cutting through Thraxons,
and we're all there like standing on the side, like,
yes, the gays, we survive. We're allowed to. Viltrumites can take over. That's fine.
We're like queen from the side. So then obviously Mark saves Andressa and his brother, and then like Omni-Man says there's 2 more Viltrum soldiers to fight. Then we cut back to Adam Eve fighting Kilcannon on the bridge. Now, this is like devastating for Adam Eve in many ways. Yeah. So obviously the fighting, like, she then deflects one of his bullets, it then hits it like a couple, they fly off in the car, and then she's trying to save them in the car as they're about to go over the bridge, and then he's obviously got her kind of pinned down. She catches them, he starts kicking her literally in the head, and then she drops them into the river. She then obviously disposes of Kilcannon quite quickly, because he's man basically with a fancy gun on his arm, and then she jumps down to try and save them. Now this, like, oh my god,
I don't understand why she doesn't just like, when she's down there, instead of getting them one by one in their that little pink bubble thing, why doesn't she just pull the car back up again?
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah.
Maybe she's tired, Zach?
She's knackered.
She's fucking.
No, maybe I said maybe she's tired.
Oh no, I'm saying knackered. I'm saying the British translation.
oh, knackered. Okay.
Yeah, knackered. She's proper knackered. But But yeah, so she needs these guys to be alive, right? Like after what happened, like when she thought she was doing good. When she built up the apartment block, she thought she was like doing good for these people. Turned out they got fatefully hurt, right? Which she didn't know about. She needs these 2 to be alive. And like, we don't obviously find that out. We just see her kind of plump the bodies down. The emergency rescue kind of team come over and she's like, please just help them. I mean, dear God, Adam Eve. Like,
it's disappointing for her because she's not doing anything wrong. She truly is not doing anything wrong. I think we mentioned this when she was building up that apartment block and building up like that little community park and all of that. If she'd had the information that there was a sinkhole underneath it, she would have fixed the sinkhole first and then built the park on top of it, right? She needs the information. So she didn't do anything wrong by those people. Here, she didn't do anything wrong. She was literally engaged in combat as she was also trying to save these people. It's not like her powers messed up or glitched in any way. She was just in combat, and that sometimes happens, right? So she's going through it sucks because she's so young, and so she's going to think of it in a little bit more of an extreme way, but she's having this crisis of like, well, what the fuck are my powers good for if like I can't do any good? And I just wish somebody would go into there and like tell her she is doing a great job. It's just going to take time to like hone your skill,
And I think she has the coolest power set. I'm sorry,
my God.
She has the coolest power set. Like the gold, you can just do like 24 karat gold all the time. You know what? This is the power set I would want out of anyone I've seen.
Decide?
I want to be Adam
Eve. What power
Eve.
set would you have if you were an Invincible?
Oh man, in Invincible, because like Adam Eve always reminds me of Wanda. Like she's probably the closest thing that we get to Wanda. So like I always get that impression. But oh man, like the ability to fly, like let's have a think. Like Adam Eve's is really really cool. Probably either Mark or Adam Eve, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think I would go with Adam Eve.
Yeah, she's she can make anything out of nothing, right? But as well, like in this scene, right? Like we've seen her in the past, like help people, right? So we know she's capable of doing it. But I think in here the big thing is that she's got her dad's words in her head. Like when he's the one that's questioning all the time, saying, you've got to take responsibility. You don't know what these powers can do. Look what happened to these people when you try to help before, to try to be a superhero. So in her own mind, I guess she's trying to like, even though she doesn't have to, but she's trying to prove to herself, look, I can be a good hero and I can help people. It's just unfortunate that this happens again.
There's a lot of self-doubt that she's having to swim through. And I hope she gets through it pretty easy.
I know. I love Adam Eve, and I love kind of where things go with her later on as well in the comics. Alastair, I haven't read them all, but I've read to a point, so I didn't want too much spoiled for me by watching this season. But the way things go with Adam Eve, I really, really love, actually. She's a really cool character. I mean, she already is, but even more so. Now, this next scene, I have things to say, because this, for me, is gold. So then we go to Debbie, who's at home. Now she's getting rid of some photos as we see her taking them out of like the books. The ducks, I didn't realize I had to look this up. They're actually Korean wedding ducks. So she turns them away from each other as they normally face each other. That's what the whole thing is, which I love. Again, little subtle storytelling without directly telling us what's going on there. Now Art comes to visit her, voiced by Mark Hamill. Art was obviously the costume creator. He made Invincible's costume back in season 1. I love this. This is what Debbie has needed to hear for so long. She's felt
married,
lost for ages. No.
Well, Debbie.
Well, Debbie, show a little bit shoulder, why don't you?
I know. But, show a little wrist.
Show a little bit ankle, you Mills and
Let
Boonho.
them know you're interested.
She's like,
look
look
at those ducks. They're facing away. I'm over Nolan.
We get our own ducks. They'll be facing each other. You know what I'm saying? But now I love this because Art straight away says, look, like basically, fuck Nolan. You're the one who has the strength, right? And I love that everything he says here. He says, being indestructible, that's not strength. That's having it easy, right? And that's such a good line. But the main thing here that I love, that he highlights, he's like, look, you're the one that stood up to Nolan, right? You're the reason why we're all still alive. Like, you know, we're not slaves or worse. You don't need him. And all of this is referenced earlier on in the episode. And this is two parallels that I love what this episode does. So Nolan, he has kind of gone on this, you know, he's shown his strength so many times, right? But also he's shown his weaknesses by doing that. In order to stop himself from killing himself, he needed this thing to come and distract him to go and save them to stop that from happening. Debbie, for all intents and purposes, when she was on that freeway, it was kind of suggested where she could have been about to throw herself. She's the one that pulled herself back. She didn't need anyone else to come and distract her from that. She had the mental capacity and strength to say, no, I'm not done for that yet. If that doesn't show how strong Debbie is, I don't know what does.
And it's a sort of like it's that contrast again. Nolan flying in the sky and a human on Earth, with such, just from the naked eye, such a breakable sort of life in emotion, in mental health, in your physical life. But there is a strength in being human. There is a strength in being mentally strong, right? And I am glad that Mark had to go away to college and Mark had to like leave her on her own because she had to come to this journey. And if she had because an example of her strength is keeping it together for Mark. And if he had been around, she would have kept doing that because she had to, and she would have been able to do it, but she needed to be able to break. She needed to be able to just go through it. You know, sometimes we just need to go through it.
Yeah. Alastair, what was your thoughts on this?
Nolan couldn't handle going through it, right? He had to run away. No. He just couldn't physically handle it.
Literally left the planet, yeah.
No, I agree with what you both said. I think that I think the show does a really good case at you know, framing strength in different ways. Yeah. And framing strength as Grayson or Omni-Man, and then framing strength as Debbie, and what those two different strengths mean, and how they play into the world around them. Right now, I'd say Debbie's probably my favorite character.
Yeah,
of course.
And she's the one I'm most interested in. What?
Yes. Spin-off show for Debbie.
Debbie.
Deb's OG.
No, I think, Alastair, you've like really brought up a really good point there, which is the show really does frame strength in really interesting ways, but also what people choose to do with that strength. You know, so like you see Nolan basically is destructive, right? You know, he kills people, kills a lot of people, kills planets, basically. That's what the Viltrumites do. But Debbie, when she has this strength, she uses it to support, to raise, to support Mark. And that's so much strength in doing that, because when you have strength and you choose not to do that, it's really recognizable. Nolan didn't like raise his son. He wanted to raise a soldier. He wanted to train a soldier, but he wasn't supporting Mark in doing that. That was for his own goal, right?
I mean, we even see sort of like the contrast, if you want to throw Adam Eve in there. Adam Eve has a pretty similar mindset to Debbie, where she's like, she's a caretaker, she's a helper, she has good intentions, right? But Adam Eve is even burdened by her own superpowers. Yeah, Debbie doesn't have that burden, which is
Does she become Adam Evil?
Yeah, right.
Oh my, Adam
my,
Evil.
oh my
Oh my
god!
gosh, they should do it. It's Adam Eve's brother, Adam Evil.
That's a
No,
that's
no,
a
no, Adam Eve, like going dark, like Dark Willow, like
yeah. That's a Halloween costume, Adam Evil.
Is it really? Oh, I was
Is it in the comics, Adam?
It's like exactly the same, just dyes her hair black. But no, that would be cool though. But yeah, and that's exactly right. Like Debbie isn't weighed down by that superhero complex either. She doesn't have that responsibility, but she has the responsibility of like, being that parent, raising her son, and she always has done right by Mark, which is one of the many reasons why we love Debbie, and has always called Nolan on his bullshit, the only person that ever did, and I love that about her so much.
Well, it also makes you think of like the helpless people. Like when you watch superhero TV shows, there's the helpless people that have to stand there and watch, their people, go and risk their life every day. It's Joyce Summers watching Buffy constantly risking her life every single day and having the strength to just be there and accept that and just be there for her in the way that she can, showing her strength the way she can instead of like going out there and slaying vampires too,
Yeah. She's at the door like, you leave this house, don't ever think about coming back.
I know, like where was Joyce Summers at the house? She was always at the gallery. She was with Pat.
Okay, she was, she had a moment, okay?
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, no.
Your point does stand. It's just a funny little joke.
No, 100% correct. Debbie, I could talk about it till I'm dead. Now, we cut back briefly to Donald at the GDA building. He's getting more intrigued at what the hell is going on, right? So he's like, what's cooking here? So he's researching into his own death, and he literally hacks into the computer, he uses Cecil's login, which somehow he knows. And then, my God, like watching your own death, that's going to mess you up, right?
Yeah.
Like, big time.
This whole, like, Donald arc is really funny. That he's like, because I know it's serious stuff, right? Yeah, watching your own death is terrible and traumatizing. There's a lot of trauma there, but like the fact that they gave Donald this big ass arc to like figure out himself and learn about himself. It's the Barbie movie,
I like it. It's a good slow burn between like huge plots, and he wasn't such a big character that after such a long break coming back, I was like, was he dead?
It took me a second.
Did he die? I was like,
yeah.
I had to think about it, and obviously he was thinking about it. Well, I mean later on, but
because he's not even like a big major character really. He's just like second in command really to Cecil, and like just kind of Cecil's dog in many ways. And then obviously like this builds to an interesting place. That's all I'll say. But yeah, obviously he watches like what happens, and like it's just it's a strange one. Let's leave it there. Now Nolan is obviously having the feelings again. And he grabs Mark by the neck, which is interesting. Like goes back into his Viltrumite mode.
Changed, Father.
Exactly.
Changed.
Here we are back on the mountain again, and he's shouting like, "Why do I feel like this? Like, how is this better?" And Mark straight away says, "This is how you should have felt on Earth." Exactly, Mark. Like, stick it to your dad. Like, this scene.
And I one of my biggest like life philosophies is show me, don't tell me, right? Don't tell me that you feel X, Y, and Z. Don't tell me that you care for me and then show me otherwise, right? And this is exactly the same. Is like Mark is sitting there while Nolan is saying, I care, I didn't mean to hurt you and your mother, I'm different, I've been reflecting. But then his actions don't reflect that because now you have your son in a chokehold again, right? So where are the actions, Nolan? Where are the actions? You don't give a fuck. You haven't changed.
Yeah, exactly that. Alastair, what did you think of this?
Andressa really, funnily enough, humanized the Thraxians a lot for me. To realize like how big of a deal it was. So to see everybody dead, yes, that was kind of a blow, but also like I'm sorry, I still wanted to kind of see the destruction, but I get that we can't always get like the destruction level stuff that we get.
But sometimes we should see that, though. I agree with you. Sometimes we should see that in a way that's a little bit more humanized, because the past couple times we've been told about a takeover, we've seen the flashes of it as a memory, right? But now we're stuck in the plot. Like, this is our current plot, and we've kind of like learned about the Thraxans. We've met a couple of them. We know kind of what their planet is, sort of a little bit about. And so then when we see a Viltrumite takeover, it does drive home the point. Again, it raises those stakes.
Yeah, massively. And I guess like the most extent that we've seen of it was when what Nolan did with Mark, right, at the end of season 1. Like we saw like that's the extent of like how far they all go to a degree. We've seen like montages of them training, and obviously in the history as well. We saw what they did to Alan the alien as well. But I get what you're saying. Like, you know, they are planet destroyers essentially. They take over planets. So we should in the future hopefully see a lot more of that as well.
Yeah, but they kill so like
wipe them out.
We're meant to believe is like everybody is wiped out on this one, and I guess that's because they weren't really like up on the docket for takeover, right?
Because aren't they a kind of like a supreme race kind of race? You know, so anything that's non-humanoid, they probably just kill outright.
Yeah, and I think it was obviously like because they have this information now that Nolan's obviously procreated with one of them. It's like, right, wipe them out. Like, you know, it's like sending a sign obviously to Nolan as well. Like, you're not having this. Like, we are going to punish you for what you've done.
It's crazy because for them, this is just like what, like an ant hive,
basically.
Like, you know, they're just, you know, kids with a magnifying glass on this like ant hive. They don't care. These are literally ants to them. Like, why would they care?
Exactly. Yeah, they're nothing. I mean, you know, we go back to season 1. Like, Nolan even says that. Like, why do you care about these people, Mark? They're going to be dead anyway. You know, like, they mean nothing to these people.
But then all of a sudden, Nolan cares.
With their life longevity,
Nolan cares so much, right?
Yeah. Suddenly, when he has a purple baby. But now the other soldiers appear, right? So they land. Obviously, Nolan takes on the guy, and then Mark starts fighting the woman with the Sindel hair whip. Now, I kind of love this, like when, you know, Mark's getting his ass handed to him initially, like beaten back, and Nolan says to him, like, look, stop holding back. Basically says, kill or be killed. Like, I know you don't want to kill people, but right now you're going to die unless you step up.
At this point, drop the humanity. This is the time. Drop the humanity. It's moments like this. Drop the humanity. And
100%.
Entire time.
100%. Honestly, if you're going to die, if you're going to protect yourself, you're going to have to fight. Like, you know, get ready to throw down, Mark. And I love, oh my God, I love that, like, he looks over at the Thraxans and he's like, you know what, shit's going to get real. And he kicks their ass for a bit. And I love that the Invincible music plays in the background as well. It was like such a lift for that moment. But yeah, he really does kick her ass. Like, I really do love it. He's obviously held back by that one moment of when he's ready to go. And she sees that 1 second of like weakness and gets her hair and stabs him in the gut, right?
You know what? And what I really like about her is that she was, obviously, they're immortal or almost immortal, but she was like an older woman, you know, who was still like
she's probably lived many lifetimes, right?
Yeah,
with her steel hair, like come on, age representing. Look at that.
Yeah, and I like that they gave each of them kind of their own like distinctive look. Yeah. Because and then they introduced them in the episode. And then when we revisit, they have such a distinctive look that I remember them, right? Because there does tend to be a few characters throughout this show that I kind of think just blur together because they don't have a distinctive enough look. But I love that all of the Viltrumites did, especially.
And I think, and that'll keep happening as well, because like if you remember back to season 1 when like Nolan finally reveals everything to Mark about Viltrumites, and he tells them it's basically like the Hunger Games, right? They all fought each other until you got the last ones that were left standing, and they're all so distinctive. And when you see them all in the lineup, you think, wow, you can tell like they all have something about them individually, and we get that here reflected straight away. Which, as you said, I love how the hair and all of that going on. It's incredible. So obviously
they killed her in this one. It makes me so. I'm so upset.
My jaw dropped. When I saw that scene.
Her jaw dropped.
Her drop. All the jaws dropped. But she literally
did she die though? Did she die?
Well, this is the question.
Yeah.
Because she obviously has Mark by the throat and is about to cut his neck, right? Nolan obviously steps in, like basically rips her jaw off, and like he squishes that guy's head together as well, like where his own glasses smash, like what he did before to Red Rush in season 1. But remember, like when we think, all right, he's taken them all out, he's good, he says to Mark, are you okay? And he's like, no, like, I've got a massive hole in my stomach. And then Lucan comes back from before holding his own guts together and then kicks Nolan in the back, basically breaking his back.
I do love the imagery of him like, holding his guts as guts he's
together.
Like,
and like karate kicks.
Myself with that one.
And knock your own ear off.
You pass out. Like, I was like,
can you imagine? We're just like.
So I like to believe that she's alive. She'll just come back and she'll just be, she just doesn't have a jaw now.
Yeah, exactly that. But I mean, like, we see that guy holding his guts together. Obviously, it plays into later on when like Nolan's had his back broken. Obviously, he's still alive, and we see bodies on stretchers going into the ship later on, which obviously we'll come to. But it'll be interesting to see what we get there. Do they have superhuman healing strength? Like, we'll have to find out. But then we cut from this, obviously, the devastating back kick. We then go to Cecil at Debbie's. So basically, she says, "Look, because we remember Nolan was an author. Remember that way back in season 1." And he had all these books that he wrote. And Debbie's like, "Look, I don't want any more money from these. Take them. And again, just give this money to the people in Chicago that need it." Man, if Debbie wasn't already an icon, hello. Like,
she's got enough money. She's like, I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. This is more.
You know what, Debbie? You deserve the money.
She does.
I think Debbie deserves the money.
She's got Real Housewives money.
Exactly.
Like, she's good.
You know what? She could write another book, under his name and just fuck up all of the books.
Oh my gosh!
Take revenge on his image.
His, like, insect wife gonna come face to face?
Oh, no, that's the question. Honestly, Debbie's going to release a book like this. Like, seriously.
It's probably the woman in Debbie.
The woman. The Thraxon in me. But
she should write a, like, Out of Shadows by Debbie Grayson.
I can already see the artwork. It's like black and white. She's like looking up at it. I can already see it. Yeah, so then obviously she's packing the books away. She says to Cecil, "Look, I don't want any of this shit," basically. He's like, "Okay, whatever." She obviously packs away the baseball gloves as well, because that was her son and her husband. That's a thing they used to do together. Obviously, we saw, like, Mark, when he was younger, he used to play baseball. Nolan showed him how to play that in the back garden. Then we cut back to the Viltrumites now. Obviously, we see Nolan being taken away. And then Nolan says that interesting line where he says, "Don't forget the good I did. Read my books, Mark." All I'll say is, without spoiling anything, is remember that line, because that comes back in quite a big way. And it's a little bit of a redemption for Nolan. That's all I'll say. But an interesting line for them to leave.
Fuck it. No.
No. I was thinking about it. And I was like, are you... I mean, don't tell me if this is the case, but I was like, is there like some sort of like kryptonite thing that he's going to find like through the books, like a special way to defeat the Viltrumites?
Yeah.
Oh, God, imagine that. Such a page turner. But who knows? Who knows? We'll just have to see. I mean, I know, but I'm not saying a damn thing.
He says he's allergic to sweet pickles, but it really means that all Viltrumites are allergic to sweet pickles.
He doesn't like shrimp. That's all he says.
Viltrum is a world without shrimp.
So, yeah, that's all he says. Mark's like, what the f- does this mean? So then we obviously cut back. This is like a little bit of a montage, right, where we go back here. So Debbie like leaves the books out on the curb. We then obviously see some of Nolan's books that he wrote. We see Adam Eve. She's obviously really depressed on the bus. She gets a text from Amber basically inviting her for like brunch, and she's just like, nope. And then she ignores it and then goes to see her
You
parents.
Gotta be depressed to say no to brunch.
Exactly. Oh, right. Exactly. Mimosas. Yeah. Like, hello.
Yeah. Like
that would have pulled you right around.
Yeah. If you're going to be depressed, be depressed at brunch.
Listening to girls in the background singing Taylor Swift. Like, that's how you do brunch, man, in Chicago.
All too well.
The 10-minute version.
That's what the 10 minutes of this should have been that. Brunch singing all too well.
That would have been it. Peak television right there. We obviously then see Donald going full Terminator 2 moment here when he takes a knife, like stabs it into his own hand. Like, he then looks and sees the blood and he's like, oh, thank God, I'm not like an android or something. But then he obviously looks at the end of the knife and it's bent.
It's just like April the Robot.
He like growls at one point.
Warren is basically in the back making robots.
Oh, God. Like, Donald, like, with Spike, Jesus.
Donald's a robot. Did anybody else know Donald's a robot?
Well, I mean, and then it makes you think, why is Cecil making Donald a robot?
I know.
These are the questions that need answers. Then we're kind of moving to the final here. So then this is when we get introduced to General Krieg, who he visits Mark and tells him he's proven himself and he can join the Viltrum army. Now, basically, he's not asking him, he is telling him here.
Oh, yes.
He says, look, like, your father is going to be executed. You're going to take over his mission. I want you to kill a few humans to convince them, basically, that they need to follow in line with the Viltrum army. Come and join us, basically. If you don't do that to convince them, then we'll kill millions. And until the planet basically is no longer defiant.
Which
and he'll check
is
on his
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Now we know he's going to go back to Earth. He got to find his way back to Earth because they're not going to take him. And he don't have a ship programmed because Nolan has stranded him here. So he's got to find his ass back to Earth. And now, like, he can't. We already know Mark. We know his heart. We know that he is not going to try to conquer this planet, but now he's got to really quickly scramble a fucking plan together.
Oh yeah.
Do we, Zach? Because I'm pretty sure we saw other Marks that did that.
Yeah, that's not this Mark. That's
he's
not
obviously
this Mark.
he's obviously capable. He's obviously willing and able, and I really hope that he steps up to this challenge.
You got an interesting point
to take over.
Yeah, he becomes the leader.
Well, I mean, either it's like a philosophical challenge. Either he kills a couple people, right, or he lets millions of people die. So, which is better? Oh no! Oh my gosh! I have so many morals. I just want to let everybody. What's wrong with you? At this point, just kill a couple of people.
Okay.
That's easier said than done.
Mark is not going to do that. Our Mark will not do that.
Our Mark is a sweetheart, but no, like
exactly.
At the end of the day,
would though.
Do you want him to hurt Debbie more? Do you want him to hurt Debbie more? Debbie, but or not Debbie.
He doesn't have to kill Debbie.
Buffy would have sacrificed the entire world for Dawn. That was weird.
Yeah,
that was weird.
She would have season 5. But season 7, she wouldn't have done that.
Pushed her over the edge. Just
off you go, slapping her on the back.
She would have stabbed Dawn in the chest to save the world.
Just with her own hair.
I don't know. It's just like such a.
I would have after I got kicked out of my own house too.
It's a.
Sorry.
That's
a crazy place to drop off because now we've got to wait for. Like, I'm ready to jump into this plan. I'm like, we don't have time to wait till 2024, showrunners. They're coming. They're coming. We need to get a plan together.
No, you got to give them time to get back to the Earth. That's why we have such a big space.
There better be 6 weeks. That's it.
At maximum. But, like, Alistair, you kind of brought up an interesting point there. You're right. Because, like, we got the introduction to Angstrom, right, earlier on about the multiple dimensions, like what he was trying to do there. He wasn't even in this episode, like, at any point. So, like, he's still doing something there. But obviously, we do know that we've got access to these older dimensions with other Marks, other Omni-Mans, blah, 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 other characters. So, we'll just have to see how that plays out. But, man, what a way to kind of finish. We do get like the credits briefly, and then we get this little after credit sting, which is the Mauler twins. So it was kind of hinted before again, where they said, you know, like that it's always the main twin that makes like a clone of themselves, right? But obviously we had the flip side here, where it's actually the clone who kills the main one, right? He puts that poison in his drink. And he says some things the way they are, some things are the way they are for a good fucking reason. And obviously he falls over and dies, which has never happened before.
They give us the hot bowler again. They make him hot again, so we don't have to keep looking at the one who's all melted.
It's like the hot Navi from Avatar. You like the melted one?
Obviously, he was really, really hot, and that so he melted.
He was basically the Phantom of the Opera. But yeah.
He's mysterious.
Just comes on wearing that mask. But yeah, so we had like a double stinger there. We got so much left in the air after this episode. There's so many threads dangling for us now, especially that major one with what will Mark do? But just to wrap up, guys, what's your kind of general thoughts on this episode, I guess the season so far, and then give this episode a rating out of 10. So Zach, we'll start with you.
10 out of 10. It's a fantastic episode. It's well put together. Story is great. It just infuriates me because I just want Mark so much to just say fuck you and fly away. Just fly away. Leave all of them. Let them to die. And just let it be. Let it be. Let the baby. Fuck that baby.
What about you, Alistair? So
out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so out of 10, I would give this a solid 8.275.
Okay. Why that?
Wrong answer, but sure.
No. I liked all of it. I just like,
but
I think my favorite episode was the last episode. Honestly, the one before this one. And so when I put both of these episodes next to each other, like I think the third episode eclipses this like mid-season finale for me, especially with that kind of like cliffhanger. So no, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's perfectly artful. And I'm trying to think of anything that could have actually made it better, because now I'm kind of regretting my.
Well, apparently it's 8.275, so you better.
Done. It's set in stone now.
Yeah, I've got it written down here. It's already on the internet.
8.75. 8.75.
Oh, okay. I mean, for me, I've got 10 out of 10, like underlined 3 times on my paper here. Like literally, this for me was everything I wanted. I know it suffers a little bit, kind of what you were saying there, Alistair, where it suffers because it's like a mid-season finale, so it suffers a little bit with there's still some things left up in the air unresolved. Some things haven't been explored as much as, say, in some of the other episodes. I completely understand that. But I think the journey up to those points for me has been amazing, and they all feel justified, right? So I'm really, really intrigued. Like, it's left me wanting more, like any season finale, and this is a mid-season finale, should do, right? So, like, you think back to season 1, in the middle of season 1, we were nowhere near like stakes like this, right? So it's done everything where the season so far has really expanded. It's built bigger stakes. We've got so much happening here where we're building to basically an all-out war, and everything feels justified in that. And I am super, super pumped to watch more. All right, everyone. So that is our episode. That's our mid-season finale covering Invincible, season 2, episode 4. It's been a while.
We just started.
I know.
Too.
And the thing is, like, it's gone by. Those 4 weeks have gone like that. Alistair, I know you binged them as well, but like, it must have felt even quicker for you because you just watched them all back to back.
Yeah,
like it felt
it's
like
been quick. Honestly, this year's been
like
quick,
hours.
so like, everything's just been going by very, very fast.
Yeah.
Including episodes.
Alrighty. Well, thank you both boys for doing this. This has been a lot of fun. Obviously, I know that you'll be back to start the rest of season 2, obviously, as well. So we'll have a good chat about that because I'm super pumped for that. But before we end, obviously, Zach, tell everyone where they can find you, what you do, and what you've got going on, and then Alistair straight after.
Patreon.com/AZB plus PLUS. And we'll be there.
Same, AZB plus on Patreon, and AZB plus, or AZB on YouTube, and then at Alastair J. Patton. I don't post much, but I lurk. So
he's always watching, folks, but
he sees what you're saying.
Posted. Yes, he is on the internet.
He's always watching. All right, guys. So if you do, as I say, want to watch the video version of the podcast and all the other ones that we've recorded about Invincible and everything else that we've done, that is over on YouTube. Just type in Last Week On. You'll find it there on my YouTube page. Make sure you follow us on socials as well. So type Last Week On. You will find us on Twitter, Instagram, the usual faces. Give us a follow. Give us a like. Leave us a 5-star review. If it's anything under that, don't bother. On all streaming platforms.
If it's an 8.5, don't bother, guys. Just don't. It's not.
It was 8.75.
A tear runs down Alice's cheek. But yeah, give us a cheeky comment on there as well. Let us know what you like about the show. And yeah, if you want to follow me on socials, I am @Straughan87 everywhere. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you again, guys. This has been so much fun. And yeah, I'll have to get you back on for the rest of the show, right?
Absolutely.
All righty.
Unless I'm fired. I don't know.
Thank you for having me on, Adam.
Of course. Anytime, Alistair. Anytime, Zach. All right, guys. Until next time, take care.
Bye.
Adios.